Look, we got back, guys. Just picked it up from Moores. It's the Jaguar XF. How many of you remember me getting this one? If you remember, we got it from this main dealer part exchange yard with 150,000 miles on it and an engine management light on the dash, which was for the inlet manifold. Plastic inlet manifold had cracked and it was losing boost pressure. But even after that, we still had exhaust fumes coming through the vents and quite a loud whistling noise. Now, I was living with the whistling noise, but I couldn't live with the smelly diesel smell coming through the vents. Now, put it down to Moores, and they did warn me it could be expensive to fix, because when they had a dig around, they found an EGR valve, an EGR cooler that was broken, and they also found that when they tried to replace that, the exhaust manifold didn't want to come off either on that side. So we got an exhaust manifold and a reconditioned EGR valve, cooler, sorry, which I think between the two of them cost me around about £300. But the big thing was the labour. It was a lot of work for them to get to it, very fiddly. But the Moores boys came out again. I think they charged me £400 including the VAT for fitting everything. Now, they're very proud because they tell me there are no codes left in the car at all. It is devoid of codes, which I immediately told them off for. They do not do that with an old Jaguar like this. We need them to leave one minor code in the car so that we could just have that one thing we knew about. Now we're code free. We're just ticking away the time until we get another one. If I start it up now, look, the vents actually are working apart from that one over there. Apparently there is a kit on eBay you can get to fix it. Oh, that one started to go. That you can get to fix these. I'm not going to bother with that. I really am not that bothered. It's not such a hard to turn one vent up, is it, at the end of the day? So yeah, if we start her up. No lights on the dashboard at all. I think the only thing we've got now is the rear sensors, parking sensors. And mind you, it doesn't come up and say they're not working anymore, does it? They didn't manage to fix that, did they? No, the rear parking sensors must still be playing up. I think, to me, it feels even quicker than the Maserati because the torque's lower down in this. About the same brake horsepower, about the same torque, but it's about, I think it's about 500, 1,000 RPM lower. And obviously the Maserati's worth quite a bit of money. This is worth less money, so I don't mind using it. It is nice to have. With 155,000 miles on, I don't have to worry about babying it and running up the miles. But I still like hopping in my old Suzuki Swift, and I've got a number of toys now, haven't I? So we'll do a road test home tonight and see what the score is. If that all goes smoothly, then I think it's just a case of cleaning it up, touching up some of the alloys. I think some of the alloys over here losing paint on the edge. I think it's that one there. Just touch that up a little bit, give it machine polish, give it a clean off, and then I think we'll pop her up for sale. I think she's got about 6 months MOT left on her as well still. So guys, it's back. The Toyota RAV4. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, sold a 2006 Toyota RAV4. It was 90,000 miles on it. We got the car in, we drove it around a bit, took it down to get it serviced in MOT. While it was being serviced, the engine seized, so the guys put the new engine in it, or replacement good used engine in it, put it up for sale, advisory free MOT. The lady came along, bought the car from me. So again, 2006, 90 odd thousand miles. She bought it from me and told me that after she bought it, she was going to take it to Toyota for a 130-point check or whatever, Toyota main dealer. At which point we said, well, a 2006 car going to a Toyota main dealer, it's gonna have problems. They're going to come back with some stuff. You know, obviously we've done as much as we can, serviced it, MOT'd it, advisory free, all good to go. But you know, on a car that age, unless you restore it to absolutely brand new, there's going to be some stuff. But it surprised us and flew through the Toyota check. They said it was a cracking car. Lady took the car away, was happy. About 3 weeks later, the lady gave me a call and said during a storm at night, the cover had blown off the back So on the Toyotas, you have that cover that goes over the rear spare wheel. She said that the cover had blown off and gone down the road. She'd taken the car back to Toyota. Now, bear in mind, Toyota had done this 130-point check, who then said all the clips around that were broken and somebody had glued it on. Obviously insinuating, presumably as a dealer, that I'd glued it on. Maybe not. Maybe saying it was a previous owner. So I hot-footed down there to have a little look at this glued-on cover, only to find it was white grease that was all round the outside, not glue at all. So I'm not quite sure how a Toyota mechanic identified it as glue. We all know what white grease is when we see it. And there was one clip broken on the cover, but I didn't even bother checking the cover. I was told the clips were broken, so I actually ordered up a used cover. It cost me about another £70, which was in the wrong colour. So then I ordered £30 worth of paint. I scuffed it all up, sprayed it to the exact right colour. Really good quality job on it. Drove down there and fitted it. So she had the new cover on it. And that was 2 weeks ago. So we're now literally coming up to the end of the 3-month warranty period. I gave a 3-month warranty on a 2006 car with 90,000 miles. But obviously when you get to that kind of age, it's like, if you're selling something like a Saab here, it's major mechanical components. I know I went and put a cover on the back, but that's because I'm too soft. I've just had a message from the lady. She says that she's found something on the driveway, and she's taken the car down to Toyota, and they've said it is a fuel leak, and also that an ABS light has flashed up a couple of times on the dashboard. I'm kind of really getting to my limit with this car. Obviously, at that kind of price range as well, and that age, the margins are wafer thin on a car like that. I think you're talking around about £400, £500 on a car that age. And obviously, I've already spent another 100 and going back and forth. So we're down to probably, 350, something like that. I'm really beginning to question this Toyota check as well. Now, I think, comment down below. I've messaged the lady back and I've said to her, look, did Toyota not tell you what the problem was when you went down there and looked at it? Did they not actually tell you what the problem was so we can identify what needs to be replaced to fix the problem? I said, number two, everything on the car is not covered at that age. You've got to bear in mind that car's gone for an advisory-free MOT and is then gone to an independent company, Toyota, who've independently done 130-point check and said the car was fine. If we now have some kind of fuel leak, that has happened after. That has been something during the use of the vehicle that has failed. And I cannot be on the hook for a 2006 car for time immemorial. I also can't restore it to brand new for less than 10% of what Toyota sold it for brand new. So obviously, I've not just said on your bike. I said, look, do you want to go back to Toyota and get them to actually quote for what work needs doing? Or you've got my company, my garage I work with that's closer to her. You can book it in with them. They've got loan cars. You can book it in with them directly. I'm not going to book it in. I don't book them in because I've got to then find out when she's free, ring the garage, find out when they're free, ring her back and find out, if that tallies up with her, blah, 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 blah. I end up going back and forth on the phone. I don't do mechanical repairs here either. So it's going to be the garage that fixes it. So I just put the two parties in touch with each other and the guys will contact me and tell me what the problem is with the car. So I gave them the guys over at Car Care over at Barnstable. I gave her the guys down at South Molton, gave them their contact details. And I also, like I said, if you want to go back to Toyota and get them to check it out and come back to me. So we are going to find out what that is. But at the end of the day, if it's like a rubber pipe has perished, 2 and a bit months after she's had the car, and like I say, it's gone through all those checks, comment down below. Should I be responsible for a rubber pipe perishing that period of time afterwards? I don't know what else it could be. The ABS sensor, it's like I said to her, unfortunately, if the ABS sensor has failed, then the guys can look at replacing the ABS sensor if it's failed. Again, it wasn't a problem for the first couple of months of ownership, and it went through all these checks, didn't it? So again, you have to question, was that a fault at point of sale? Because don't forget, under consumer law, you are responsible for faults that were present at point of sale. And it's up to the dealer to prove within the first 6 months on any age of vehicle that the fault, one, you've got to question, does the fault make the vehicle unfit for purpose or not as described? Well, does it make the fuel leak happening now? Does it make the vehicle not as described? Well, no. The vehicle was, at the time was as described. This has happened afterwards. Does it make it unfit for purpose? Well, you don't want a fuel leak on the vehicle, but you can also say that it wasn't present at the point of sale because there was no fuel leak present when the car went through its MOT, and when it then, a couple of weeks later went down to Toyota and had its check there. So under the law, one would say that actually, by the law, that I'm not actually responsible for these things. But again, you don't want to get to a point where you go into court, and you also want to try and keep your customers happy and get a good reputation for helping people. But again, at what point do you cut it off? So yeah, I'll have to report back to you on that one, guys, and see what happens. But I'm always interested in people's comments and opinions down below on what because at the end of the day, you can have laws in place, you can have rules in place, but I think you just got to go through life and do, you've got to do what you think is fair and what is the right thing to do, and treat others as you'd want to be treated to yourself. Obviously, I don't want to leave a lady who's bought a car with a fuel leak. We want to get the fuel leak sorted, want to help her out. Perhaps I make a contribution to it rather than pay for it in full. It really depends what the fault is and how serious it is. So yeah, as always, put your comments down below. I'll be interested to hear what your thoughts are on that, and I'll report back as soon as I hear any more. As always, we have had other things on the go as well. People put comments down below. If you send cars out in the right way in the first place, you won't have problems. Look, I sell on average cars that are over 10 years old and on average over 80,000 miles. If you're going to do 20, 25 of those in a month, and people are going to go out and start using them every day in earnest, I don't care who you are, as we've just proved with a Toyota technician going over a Toyota RAV4, problems can happen later on. Until someone's out there using the car absolutely regularly, day in, day out. I take my cars for far more of a test drive than I think most dealers do. I normally take it for about an hour, half an hour home, half an hour back as a minimum. So I do test the vehicles as well, but until someone starts using them in earnest every single day, you can't have, you're not going to find everything. So what else have we had? The Tiguan I sold a couple of weeks ago, the lady's gone for a run in it, and she said that an EGR light's come up on it. It did actually clear itself, the EGR light. It went out again afterwards. So I don't know if it's marginally on sort of the coked up level. She sounds like a bit of a legend, to be honest. She said, I've had this before, and I put an additive and drove the car hard and saw how I got on with it. So that's what she's done for the moment. She's put the additive and said she'll go for a drive. I've said, look, that's brilliant. Give that a go. But if it flashes up again, then the likelihood is we will have to get the EGR valve swapped out on it. I did put EGR valve cover on the warranty with Warranty Wise. I've got a Warranty Wise cover on that Toyota, by the way, but being as the age of the vehicle, it's a bronze and it only covers major mechanical components. It doesn't cover anything else. So we've had that on that one. Have we had anything else claim-wise? Oh, a Nissan Qashqai I sold. Now this must be getting on 6 months, so I think this guy might well be on his own on this one. Nissan Qashqai, he had a light come up on the dashboard, and the car didn't really want to start very well, but then it did start and it ran again, and then it had trouble starting again. The boys at Warranties had a look at that. It was a black 7-seater Qashqai. I don't know how many of you remember that. It must be getting on about 6 months ago now, I would have thought. But that one, the boys think it might just be the fuel filter that is a bit clogged up, so they're looking to replace it. Again, a fuel filter on the car after, one must be getting on 5 months or more. A clogged fuel filter, I don't know. It's a difficult one. Again, comment down below. I'd be interested in your thoughts on that one. I'm too soft. I probably will do it because it won't cost me a lot of money and it'll keep him happy. And one of his other family members has bought a car from me. But realistically, again, the maintenance of the vehicle, after you take the vehicle away, the dealer isn't responsible for the maintenance of the vehicle. He's responsible for providing the vehicle, as I said, as described and fit for purpose. But these are the joys of selling older cars. Like I said, you do things that are all under 5 years old and under 30,000 miles, under 50,000 miles. The likelihood of you getting anything back is very low, and everybody's going to think you're brilliant because your cars don't have problems. But you're selling cars that are very unlikely to have problems. If you're trying to supply vehicles to those people with budgets sort of under 5k and do the best job you can, you're still going to have problems. It's unavoidable because those cars are old. There's a lot of components on modern cars, and it's just, you are likely to have issues, and we try our very best, but we cannot isolate people completely from the running costs of an older vehicle.